Hello, good morning, and welcome to this video. I today am going to be trying my best to briefly explain why it is that I will never fear the shadow or evil or the dark side or the devil, and also in that knowing why it becomes quite clear that God or Source always wins. And this is a really big topic for so many people right now in the world, and it's a big what if kind of thing for so many people, right? Where we really struggle with believing in the outcome, right? In believing that good wins, or believing that light will always prevail over darkness. And I have been doing, I think I did 3 brainstorming sessions already on my on my podcast, and I've also written a couple of blogs about this. So if this idea is scary to you, or if you feel fear right now, I really highly suggest that you go and check out those podcasts, or if you prefer to read, you can check the blogs and read them, because I go into depth really about this creator mindset and how each one of us is a unique aspect of the creator, right? We are our own fractal piece. And when you can learn to know that, accept that, and love it, all of these fears become less of a worry. And also, you become stronger. Your faith becomes stronger, right? And so if you're in that space, if you're in that space right now, then I highly, highly suggest then taking some time for yourself, connecting, do some meditation, and go seeking inwards to see your creator within you and have a conversation with that. Whether you choose to see it as God or Jesus Christ or a saint or your higher self or source, it's all unique and part of a beautiful personal perspective that is reality. So whatever subjective feelings that come to you and resonate with you, that's what you go with, and that's what you tie into. And getting a little bit off topic here because it's difficult to explain faith-based knowing, right? And it's new to me as well, because I previously would have been hypercritical of anybody who had like a faith-based knowing or believing in something. And this is really, caught the mainstream right now with the word believe, and you hear so many people immediately, oh, believe has the word lie right in the middle, so let's get away from the word believe, and I respect that, and I totally, I get it, but also the underlying truth of where that frequency of belief comes from is faith. And we should never discourage true faith, because it's that interlinking tie, that frequency that binds our ether together. Faith and unconditional love. And I think when we can get to that perspective, that knowing that, yes, the universe has our back, yes, the ether, the imagination space, infinite intelligence is with us continuously. It is literally interacting with all aspects of us, physical, mental, spiritual, at all times. And so when you can relax into that a little bit more, this is really where a space can start to be built out of, where you can work to build confidence in a knowing. Because the dark side, the shadow, it feeds and fuels off of confusion, off of illusion, deceit, the what ifs, the possibilities. It really does. And this is an intricate working that happens only through practice and only through your own personal development of these skills that you'll learn and understand these things. So give yourself time as well, and don't feel like you have to push yourself into some kind of space. It's perfectly acceptable to hold curiosity, criticism, and skepticism, right? But it's important to remember that these are tools. They are not meant to be used at all times across the board always. They have places and specific situations in which they are receptive, they are useful, right? They are not always useful. However, in this space that we reside in right now, right, there is a very heavy structuring and need for the belief that these things are across the board always necessary. This is why so many people are spiritually bypassing, or they're stuck in this loop of ascension, fake enlightenment, to where they feel done, or that they are higher than others, or that they know more than others. It's a sticky ground to be attempting to walk on, and it's always important to remember that, because no matter how eloquently you walk or carry yourself, you are still stepping through quicksand. If we could use that metaphor, right? Or personally, I'll use a metaphor like a sand dune. But if you're not a beach person, or you've never been to a beach, you don't really understand the concept of sand dunes and how really difficult it is to walk up one, because the sand just slides underneath you. The weight of you is drawing it down, and it's drawing the sand dune down at the same time. However, we all are making that walk continuously. That's what you're here for. If you are physically embodying a vessel right now, if you are on this plane, if you are experiencing this 3 to 4D world of Earth right now, then cha-ching, you won it, the lottery. You're here, okay? So there's no point in pretending or assuming or telling yourself that you're higher than the frequencies that are resonating here right now, okay? Yes, other lifetimes. Yes, time is not a real thing. And so on the spectrum of your growth, of your personal path back to oneness, you embody all levels, every step on the staircase, right? And that's so important that we have this picture and we understand that. But it's even more important that you remember what stair you're standing on, right? It's even more important that you appreciate the stair you're standing on. And it's only from that place that you can really build and get yourself ready to even take the next steps. And so I just really, I cannot impress enough on all of us, and myself included, because when I say you, I'm using plural you, right? And that means all of us, myself included. We need to hold our beings in this suspended state of duality, this paradoxical, weird flow to where we can be embodied, imperfect, three-dimensional souls, really rough. We can be that marble that has yet to be sculpted, and we can sit in that space and feel it and understand the heaviness, the roughness, the yearning for true shape, right? But at the same time, on this swing and on this spectrum, your higher self, your ultimate soul, is already that masterpiece sculpture, already underneath, just waiting, to be drawn out, to be perfected. And when we talk about space-time, and we talk about the universe and these kind of concepts that are difficult to understand, the holding of the paradox is so important, because that in itself creates purpose, right? So many people are, oh, what's my purpose? Oh, I can't find my purpose. Oh, if I just had something, to strive for, then I would have that motivation. I would believe. I would be a better person. My life would be happier, or, all of these things we tell ourselves. But the catch-22, the joke, the pun, the whole thing of it is that we already are that. But we have to learn the sweet space of duality and how we can seek that balancing in between the contrasts, and how only ever possible to find that middle balance through opposing forces, right? And I talk about this a lot in the Creator Mindset, and about shadow work and things like that, about the necessity and the beauty of contrasts and working between them, and using catalysts or disruptions as beautiful pivot points to really harness our soul's strength, because we are at our strongest when we accept we are at our weakest. And that is just like the most beautiful message that came through to me one day in meditation, when I was, feeling super low and feeling weak, physically weak, mentally weak, and emotionally weak. And I just had this lightning bolt message that, wait a second, you should be thanking your lucky stars. You should be hugging and holding and loving this yourself right now, this weak self of yours, because it's only with that ultimate low that you could ever get to your highest high, right? It's the way it is. And this is why I call it the first joke and the ultimate joke. And it's how I just can really break up and move through things, because the frequency of humor and of joy is it's where life sparked out of, right? It's what fueled that Big Bang. If you choose to, believe in the Big Bang, or you like that theory, or you've heard of that explanation, right? Then let's put a twist on it, and the before the Big Bang, with infinity being so bored with itself, with infinity, with God Source, with you, saying to yourself, let's explore manyness. Let's break up, apart, into every faction, every fractal, every possibility that could ever fill infinity. And it's impossible because infinity in itself is never ending. And so when we try to logically explain and pick apart infinity, look what we've got ourselves into. Look at this beautiful experience of ups and downs, of goods, of bads, of lows and highs, right? Of the worst and the best of the best. And it's only with a gift of time, with this sequential, logical, analytical side of our brain, can we even grasp the joke. You know, you need the fun-loving, intellectual, creative, imagination being, dreamer on this side to even be able to work that joke in your brain, you know? So it's like the proof is in the pudding, right? All of these blatant truths, all of these undeniable truths that just, they bubble up, they surface through the nonsense, through the chaos, through the disorganization. You see the patterns. You see the underlying organization. It's perfect. It can be no other way. And so, being able to have this conversation with yourself, go around the circle, right? The outside of like the yin yang here, let's like go around it, right? And let's talk about the dark. Let's talk about the light. Let's talk about how they work together, how they balance each other, how they fuel each other, how they knock heads, how they co-create, how only through that unique interactions, unpredictable almost, you know, of the two is birthed the brand new. And again, back to the undeniable truth of our Creator, right? In the beginning, there was nothing. And how special and joyful and happy and inspiring and silly and quirky do you have to take it to see the truth that surprise is what everything's about. That, let's see what happens. That, what if? I wonder. The curiosity. That, let's try it out. Let's do it. That is the energetic frequency that birthed the universe, that birthed our Big Bang, that birthed us. And as soon as you can accept that and know that, you tie your own self to it, and enjoying your life becomes base level. Looking out into the world and appreciating just the fact that this is here for your enjoyment, for your pleasure, it really sets an undertone of working, right? It sets a beautiful pace of purpose that's unobtainable without contrast. It is unobtainable without that duality, the good versus bad. And so yes, how do we, as the Creator, know that we're planning good and bad to do these things, to create these new, to come together? We are outside of the good and the bad, right? We have to be. And this is also, you know, where the mystery and the curiosity comes back. And I've heard it so many times cross-culturally, across time, religions and faiths and all types of just belief structures, right? To say that the mystery of why, of how, and who is not whatsoever what the purpose of this life is. And a lot of intellectuals and a lot of people who get very wrapped up in thinking, we tend to perceive that there must be ulterior purposes, that there must be some kind of, definitive, logical, measurable purpose. But in fact, it's the opposite. And it's actually showing us all of these measurable things, all of these, things we struggle with, to be able to then embody all of them and know that the purpose in itself is to just be alive, to just enjoy, to just feel, to experience. The ultimate purpose, the how, the who, that is not part of the game that we create here. That's why we have a veil of forgetting. That's why that's the mystery. That's the ultimate creator mindset accepts that mystery. It says, okay, I'm game. Let's go. No matter what the stakes are, no matter what the predefined parameters are, no matter who has that ultimate call at the end of the game, the creator is knowing. It's a difficult concept, and so this is why, I've done so many brainstorming sessions and I've done so many blogs, and excuse me. Each time I come to these blogs and each time I come to this topic, I find myself being continually caught up in explaining duality and continually redirected to enjoying comparing the two, and for feeling the ups and downs, and for the shadow work and the light work, because that is ever expanding, and I really do feel that that's what we each come here for, is for that inner alchemy, for our souls to ascend and to move through, right, into higher circulatory patterns of bringing us back to oneness, right? To get into another life similarly reflected, but of a higher vibration, so that your lessons are deeper and your shadow work is thicker, and it's all-encompassing is not really the word I'm looking for, but it can take up all your time. It can take up your whole day. It could take up your whole life. I could take up every single podcast just getting into the nitty-gritties of contrast, duality, good versus evil, right? We just see that template applied on so many layers across so many different mirrors in our world, in our own personal world, in our inner world, our direct world that we experience, and then in the exterior, ulterior, outer world that the collective creates that we don't ever get to actually experience. The template of good versus evil is placed over all of these things so that you get it from all angles, right? Because that's the point. Oh, you think you got it here, let's turn it this way. Do you see it clearly from here? Okay, well, let's go outside and look in, and you get the same view through the window over there that you're getting from your window at your house. No, you're not, right? Well, live a lifetime out there now. Okay, now come back in and, stand over here at the door. And do you have a different perspective of this house, or the person who's speaking? And it's a multi-level, multi-dimensional across all types of templates because it's never ending, right? Now we get into the real joke of it because it's never ending. If you put a mirror in front of another mirror and you go and look into that mirror, boy, you're going to see as far as you can. And when you turn and you step this way, you're going to see again as far in a different angle. And so that knowing and the acceptance that in itself, the manyness, the exploration of infinity is never ending. However, simultaneously, we need to remember we are still a creator fractal being who is observing. Although, yes, we're looking into that mirror and we're seeing all those reflections and we're seeing manyness carried out, all different angles and possibilities, we, as beings, as souls, are still an observer. That creator aspect of ourselves, that fractal being of source, is still here, is still observing always. And you'll always have to remember, okay, let me pull myself out of the mirror I've been staring into, the mirror after mirror after mirror, right? And recall that I'm sitting in front of a mirror and I am me. I am still here, right? And when you can start to accept that you are a creator being, observing your creations for a reason, the working of the observing, and becomes more harmonious with yourself because you're able to pull yourself out of your visceral, material, three-dimensional experience here as Allie. I can step out and I can see the higher purpose of source, right? Of why at this moment, at this time, I am playing out this role. And that hindsight or foresight, because, it's both, right? The omnipresence, the understanding, it becomes your solid ground. It becomes as physical as your role in the game you're playing here. And once you can get to that space, that is where the ultimate knowing will come from. That is where love and unconditional love really flow out and really start to do work for you inside of your world and inside of your body vessel. And when you can pull out and tap into your well of unconditional love in there, your connection to source, this understanding of the game, and that no matter how the game this time plays out, you're still you. You're still going to be okay. You're going to survive. This particular game at this particular time starts to not be as important. And with that, you really become able to detach from the emotions, the triggering, the mind control thing that comes up with this good versus evil that we're all struggling with, that we've been so tied down into thinking it's the template that gets pressed upon all, forgetting the circle of oneness, the connection of source, is that template. It is the true template. Yes, there's a spectrum, and the universe that we're in is embodying duality. And so, as far as your shadow goes, the shadow goes. As deep as your dark goes, the dark will be there. As far as you can venture into the negative, you will be met with that amplitude of negative. Because it is never ending. Because you're choosing to gaze into those mirrors set up against each other and search in there for darkness. You're always going to find it. It's always going to be there. Manyness for more work, for deeper. And so, when we do lots of shadow work and we start to uncover the circle that is our oneness, it becomes much easier to step out of the mirror and to remember that you're the creator. And it just sets up an entirely different space of working for while you're in your reality of your world, for when you're sitting and looking in that mirror, so to speak, right? Because that mirror metaphor, I'm not meaning as an internal work. I mean, yes, it is, and there are mirrors for internal work as well. But the world of our whole three-dimensional material world that we each experience is this subjective double mirrors that are reflecting and working in them. And we get so caught up in looking in them and watching that we forget that we're here. We're outside of all of it. And so that remembering is the creator mindset. That understanding and knowledge of separateness to duality, of us being a container to it, that we are able to step outside of it, that we are able to just use it as a tool instead of letting it use us as an all-encompassing thing. There's an underlying pivot there that I hope that I'm making clear to everybody, because the more that you can recognize and pivot out and step back into the connection of source with yourself, and remember that every time the shadow presents itself in your exterior world, and especially in our ultimate, the collective world, when we see evil, when we see darkness, when we see this corruption that is engulfing the collective right now, it can be unbelievably frightening. It can take over your whole world because you are choosing to forget that you're looking in the mirrors. You are choosing actively to get into it as much as you can. Get into the role, okay? You are turning into like Mel Gibson. You're getting too wrapped up in your roles here, buddy, okay? Remember that you are not the actor. You're not the role that's being played out. You are something totally separate, totally outside of Hollywood, outside of that movie set, And so, that, again, that's your choice, remember. And when you see others, and when I see others, and they're so wrapped up in the exterior world, in this ulterior, all this motives of the world, and they're taking it all on, and they're really in it to win it. Like there's nothing else to be out there. I find such gratitude for the creator inside there, for that strong dedication to the game, right? You have to just be like, wow, your dedication is, I appreciate your intensity. I see what you're doing, and I love it. Because manyness is meant to be. This is all meant to be. Everything's meant to be played out. It's meant to be touched, to be broken, to be put together, to be reformed, God loves it. He loves it all. We love it all, You have to remember that first joke. You have to grasp that source built a museum to display every creation it could ever co-create. And it's a children's museum. It's hands-on. You're meant to break shit. You're meant to put your hands in the paint. You're meant to color on that wall. You're meant to go and put your hands in that, the tide pools that they have at kids' museums, and they let the kids go in there and touch all the things and crush a starfish if they need to. And yes, that starfish, he is an aspect of the creator. And no, we should never just, go in and crush out life. However, the creator might need to do that once in a while. Might need to feel that snuffing of life, to have that lesson in later on where, oh my goodness, why? I am too rough. I am heavy-handed. I was excited. Or, I had such a disgusting feeling inside of me that because I felt used and crushed by something bigger than me. And so when I saw that little thing, I wanted to play that out. But it's only through that working, it's only through the hardness that the beauty of understanding comes through, that lessons come through, that new, deeper connections can be retraced back to oneness, right? And so when you see, and when I see in the exterior world, so much destruction and pain, neglect, hurt, it is inspiring to me because I know and I remember that the lowest low builds and provides that measurement space for our highest highs. And so maybe your lowest low is crushing the life out of a poor starfish, right? But maybe that brings you to your highest high later, which is, working to save ocean health, serving starfish for your life. Your life service is being, rescuing endangered species or something. It's so quirky and unique, and you can never pre-plan it. And that's really, yet again, that undeniable truth, the joke coming back at us to display itself, and just to be like, you can't control creations. You don't create to control. You create to free. You create to enjoy and witness. And that, I think, is like one of our ultimate lessons here. Especially like when you're in this 3 kind of 4D plane that we are on Earth right now, this Earth school, or however you're choosing to call it, that's what this is all about. And like I said earlier, you know what? If you're here, cha-ching, you won the lottery, you're here. You have the opportunity to experience feelings and life and enjoyment and pain, and every moment is unique. It's unexplainable. It's undefinable. You can never say for certainty what is going to happen next in this place. And the catch-22 is, you know what, of course you can. You can plan a really, really boring, plain life for yourself, and you can set up that mentality that you know it all and that you do know what's going to happen next. And it's boring or plain or super predictable, ordinary, you know? And the beautiful thing about our conscious collective and infinite intelligence is that it will reflect that back to you. It will. And that's your right as a creator, you know? Sometimes the creator does like a boring life. Sometimes the creator does want to just be supported and comforted and, you know, live a life of luxury and quiet. And that's perfect for that fractal. And that's perfect for that time and place, that whenever that occurs in, you know? However, nothing lasts forever. Everything changes, right? And so it's important for us to remember, right? And that really ties into that gratitude. And once you can work in that kind of space every day and just be like, okay, I'm grateful to just be alive and be awake. I'm grateful to see what happens next. You'd be surprised at the reactions in your direct world and how your reality, not only the way that you perceive it, the inner world builds this reality, but literally your physical direct world, the reality you experience, will also shift and change. And it will also become very obvious and clear to you that you do create your reality. I mean, especially if you're lucky enough to be somebody who is set in this kind of ordinary, everything's super predictable, you know, plain Jane kind of life, and you choose to pivot and change the way that your perception is and just say, who knows, anything could happen. And instead of having that one point of view where you think you know everything that's going to happen, if you just switch it up and you leave space open for curiosity, for anything could happen, well, you'll see different things coming in. You'll see different opportunities popping up, you know, chances to make new happen in your world because you're looking for it. And again, yeah, that's everything. It cycles back to, you know, we are the observer. Everything is happening for the observer. And only the observer gets to log what they see. And of course, what they log is what they see becomes the criteria of their world. It becomes the history of what is real in their world, right? And so it's very important to remember that and to also place that on the world scope and on the conscious collective and to understand that although things may seem solid and set in stone, they really are not at all. They are always waiting for the chance for something new. They're always waiting to be shaken up, to be seen from a different perspective. It's up to you as the observer to do that, right? The thing you're observing, you know, the coffee cup, isn't ever going to say, hey, Allie, turn me around, right? Or, hey, let your viewers, you know, see the backside of me. The coffee cup never says that. You know, the screen, the computer, my fridge isn't going to say it from the back. No, it's the observer who says what's behind that. Let me see that other side. Let me see it from this angle. You know, let's see it from this angle. You know, the observer is the only one that the angle matters to. And that, my friends, is yet again the creator mindset. I can't stop talking about it. I keep trying to bring myself to get into the exterior world and how God wins and how good wins, and every single time it's the undying contrast of duality and the working through, the appreciation of it that I get very wrapped up in, and that I talked for 45 minutes now about. So if you've listened to this whole thing, thank you so much, and I really hope that you're able to step more into that observer role, to hearken back and tie into your beautiful velvet rope to Creator and Source and Mother Earth and your higher self, and to, as much as you can, get out of the mirrors and sit in your seat and remember the physicality, the uniqueness, the spark of your own inner source creation, right? Because as soon as you do that, as soon as you can get there, you will never fear. You won't fear anything. Because fear is just fear. It's not something physical, right? It's odd because we feel fear is so real and that it is material, but it isn't. It isn't real. It is a reaction that we get from our shadow. And if we feel it, the Creator says, shadow, what's up? I heard your alarm, right? Like fear's an alarm. I heard it. What's up? Let's address it. Let's heal it. Let's soothe it. What do you need? Right? That is the ultimate snuffing out of the darkness. That's the winning. That's how I see God winning, right? That's how good always wins. That's why I say light will always conquer, because light never actually is seeking to overtake anything. Good service to others, positive polarity and seeking is never about changing something into something new. It's not controlling, rearranging pieces into a feel-good pattern, or taking out, get rid of all these things so that what we have left over here is all light. No, it's that working, the seeing, the witnessing of the pain of a negative emotion, shame, guilt, fear, all of these things, they always come up. But to address it, to acknowledge it, to see it, hear it for what it is, and sit with it. To not try to change it. To not say, it should be this way, no, you should be this way. It's overwhelming it with love, like to conquer it, to turn it into love or something. It's a relaxing acceptance that releases and allows that shadow or the darkness, the hard feeling, to actually feel itself. And in that, the shadow aspect, the portion, it sees its own reflection in your light. It catches its own glimpse of itself sitting in its chair when you shine the light. And the shadow, who's so stuck in that double mirror and the darkness and all of the reflections in there, it has no frickin' way to ever even see and catch its own real reflection sitting in the chair there. But when your light comes in, it catches the mirrors, and the shadow is reminded of itself sitting in its chair. And It's reminded of its own connection back to source. And it makes the choice. It makes the intentional recognition. It makes that energetic channel change. And it, ding, it aligns with light. And it comes, it comes to the positive, right? Or it doesn't. It's not ready. It is too painful. It is too hard. It needs more light. It needs a clearer path. It needs more work in itself. And the creator here, this is the point of creator mindset and of how light will always win. The creator says, no problem. No problem. Here's the light. As long as you need it, as long as you can see that tiny in the corner, that little spark of light that's coming through, I'm going to hold it here for you. And you let me know when I should send more. You let me know, and I will. And it will. It will speak out. It will disrupt. It will cause. It will hide itself. It will create other reflections inside its mirror that it's watching. And even, it's not your point. It's not your purpose. It is never that creator's role to be attempting to shine its light in a way to guide that shadow out through its mirror maze. No. It just holds that space. It holds the accepting light. And it knows and trusts the creator, tiny creator piece inside the shadow out there. It knows that creator knows its own time. It knows it's processing. It's doing its work. And it will wait until it's ready. And as soon as it is ready, it will align. It will bring it. It will do the work. Until the end of time. Until the end of time is that purpose, right? The creator in all of us. We know that it's going to take eternity. We all, until we can all, every fractal is here standing holding their light for that last shadow to find its way, right? And that's the trip back to oneness. That's the ascension. That's your soul process. This is the long game. That is the ultimate purpose, to get back to oneness. But it can't be rushed. It can't be done at any other time than it's being done at. And again, and I'm pushing up on an hour, so I'm really going to try to close this out here. But this is, the ultimate thing here is having the creator mindset here and understanding the long game to see the long work that we are doing. It can relax you into that huge collective game that we all see reflected. They really try to distract us with this screen of the exterior world that's just as fake as a computer screen. It's not the real mirrors that you're jumping into and exploring your life and your shadow within, these real organic mirrors here that creator set up for itself. There's the distraction of this inorganic screen displaying the mind-controlled, preconceived perspective of what our exterior collective world is. What's happening out there that you can never possibly ever even experience. You can never get the real truth out of that. You're never going to be there. You're not experiencing it. But they put this screen up here to hope and pray that you'll catch the reflection of the screen in your mirror and you'll be lost forever watching that display. And they have you controlled on that display, watching that whole game. Feeding it with your energy and forgetting the real game to play inside your mirrors and to work to get out of your own and to remember the creator that's watching the whole thing. So if you do this little work every day and you remember you're in your seat and you can ignore the exterior collective world and do your shadow work while you're strong, and that strong creator being in the chair can then look at that exterior collective world and see it for the nonsense, the charade it is. And the beauty also is we don't fuel it anymore. It becomes less powerful. in itself, right? It holds less power over all others who are sucked into it, you know? And that's a whole light work collective sort of message there. And I'll dive into that a little bit deeper about how we can try to change the channel for others at a later time because, pushing an hour. But please, I hope this message has resonated. I hope you'll spend a second every day trying to pull yourself out of the reflections and remember that God source creator inside of you, and know that every time you do shadow work, the light is winning. Every time that you love yourself at your weakest, light is winning. Every time you witness a negativity, you feel anger, you feel frustration, rage, hate, and you accept it and embrace it and say, hey, how could I serve you? How can I help you to alchemize you? What light are you screaming out for right now? The more we do this tiny work all day, you'll see beautiful, beautiful changes in your world. I know I have, and I continue to every day. So with that, I will wish you a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening. I hope that you are inspired by this message and that you will seek to serve others in this beautiful way every day. And last but not least, I just want to say quickly that if you're finding me anywhere like YouTube or BitChute right now, check me out on amariespeaks.com. I have a website which is dedicated to keeping our ish together, introspection, spirituality, and happiness. I have tons of free tools and resources over there, links to my podcasts, and also to some spiritual divination, things like tarot and oracle reading if you're interested in stuff like that. You can also find daily positivity tips by me on Telegram at t.me/amariespeaks, which I will link below. Thanks.